All right, everybody, welcome back to Success on the Spectrum. This is, I believe, episode 7 at this point, so go us. Very quick disclaimer, we are not mental health, psychological, spiritual, etc. professionals. We all own our own companies, so if you'd like to talk to us about those, that's cool. But please take any other information as such. We are only here to share the things that we are learning in unison and our own personal journeys. If you find some value in that, as always, please subscribe, hit the little bell so you get notified every time we post something new. We are putting up content at least once a week here on the YouTube channel. So thank you. If this is not your first one, if it is, welcome to the channel, I guess.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Yes. So I'm going to start off today's support systems because we are going to be talking about how do you know or how can you tell what systems you have in place to figure out if somebody is coming into your life to help you or hinder you, whether this person is energetically for you or not. And it's going to get emotional for a moment, so I apologize. But I want to start off by paying homage to one of the first people. Oh my God, so bad already. Sorry. Get it
It's
together,
so fresh.
Lyndsay.
It's so
Feelings
fresh,
are okay,
though.
Lindsay. You
Yeah.
are allowed to
This
feel.
is so fresh. It's
Yeah.
okay.
So I just for everybody out there, I lost one of my oldest and best friends 3 days ago, I found out. And her name was Katie. She was one of the first people that ever noticed and actually pointed out to me very quickly in our relationship that I was wired differently. And no matter what life threw at me throughout the course of my childhood, Katie was always there. She always saved me a seat. Her house was always a safe haven. And I realized this in the last few days that I think who I am as a mother, I may have actually templated after Katie's mom, Rosemary. So shout out to Rosemary. Thank you for letting me just be. I can't even tell you how much time I spent in their house. So one of the things about Katie that I still to this day realize that I look for in people and have potentially built some systems on is really just how weird can I be around you? Like I keep my entire social circles in groupings of how weird I can be or how unmasked I can get. So I think that is actually a system because I know Brittany and I touched on this on the last episode a little bit, and I shared some of my others like boundaries and energy checks and all that. But I really do think that for me, it comes down to just how unmasked I can be without fear of judgment. And if you are somebody like Katie and you stand up and get weird right next to me just so that I don't feel like an outcast, they're the ones that are there. You keep them there forever. And it's a tragedy when you lose them. So that is mine that I thought I
Shout out
wanted
to
to
all the
touch on
Katies
today.
in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Friends like Katie are so incredibly important. And when I first heard the news that this happened, I just thought, like, what an important person in your journey. We all need a Katie, someone who just takes our hand, says, "Hey, you're a little different, but I like it."
I'm rocking with it. Let's go.
My favorite
Yeah.
part about what you said was that, and I wrote this down, was she always saved me a seat. And I feel like that is something that we can really take and like plug into when we are looking for people that are going to be, an addition or a drain on our journey and our energy is like you're looking for people who are, saving you a seat. I
Well,
love
and I
that.
find it interesting too because what we all do, all three, four of us when Morgan's on, we all have focused our entire careers not on making money, but on building tables that more people can eat at.
Mhm.
Yes.
And I think it's just a beautiful thing that those like us that are different if we're lucky enough to experience it younger in life, I think we're more prone to be this way as we get older, you know?
Mm.
Yeah. And recognize the importance of sitting at the table, and we realize as we get older how monumental that was in our journey. And we're like, oh my gosh, I want to do that for other people. So
That was actually I've been working on a lot of stuff, Lindsay, with like the marketing and everything else and building out systems. And a lot of what I've been thinking about is the culture that I'm building, because that's like the most important thing to me. And like the number one thing that's written everywhere, that's like number one, and that Steve and I talk about all the time, is that like the biggest blessing is the opportunity that you're creating for others. The table that you're building for everyone to eat at. Like that's the number one thing. And I don't know if that verbiage came from you, but it's always like stuck in my head. It's just like the table everyone can eat at. So yeah, I love that. Let's always save others a seat.
Yep.
yeah, you
Everybody
never
eats.
know whose life you're saving, or even as we become friends with people in our 20s, 30s, 40s, you're becoming friends with little them too.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got a little version of themselves within, and you never know how healing just being kind and being accepting can be. So I love that, Lindsay. Thanks for sharing, and shout out to sweet Katie and Rosemary. Shout out Rosemary.
Shout out to both of them. Yeah. Lots
Yeah,
of love, man.
and from a
Oh man.
very personal standpoint, I understand not having a mother figure to look up to. And I had my friends' moms, and they often still their advice and who they were as adult women when I was a child and didn't have someone to look up to like that. I still think about them to this day. So Rosemary, you are just as important. So um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I grew up in other people's houses eating their food also. Commanding their TV and just loitering in their home all the time. I've had my safe spaces too. So man, yeah, where would we be without those people? Shout out to the DeGrazias and the Levitts, by the way.
Yeah.
um,
Chey, how do you create those safe spaces now? What's your go-to for figuring out your tribe?
oh, yeah. So this is across the board, personal, professional, and every single aspect of my life. I was taught from a very young age to, what I learned growing up was to listen to your gut. What I've grown to know is intuition, and how important it is to open her up and listen to her and to trust her. Um, and so I think the easiest sign is how someone celebrates you or treats you when you're down. It
Mm,
is the easiest tall tale sign. So for instance, I feel people's energy really easily because I have grown to be one with my intuition. She says something's off, I do not doubt her or question her ever. And if she says run towards this, lean into this, we're going head first. So, there's someone in my family who, whenever I tell them that, you know, something is going great in my life or my career, they obviously celebrate me in a very hesitative way. And I can feel the jealousy plain as day. And without fail, the subject gets changed very quickly. It's like, oh yeah, that's nice. So anyway, they don't want to talk more about it or unpack what's going well. And on the contrary, when I tell this person that I'm struggling with anything, I can tell that it sparks a bit of joy in them. And they want to keep the conversation going and get all the details about
Mm.
what's going wrong. And so I think, you know, how someone celebrates you or shows up for you when things aren't going well is such an easy way to find out if someone is helping or hindering your journey. Um, and I will say when you are down and a friend or family member comes to you with something that amazing is happening, it can hurt for a second. You're like, ah, I wish my life was going better. But it's not about you, it's about them. And so, reciprocating that energy that you want from other people, it's the golden rule: treat people how you want to be treated. And so, as cliche as it sounds, it's a cliche for a reason. Pay attention to how people celebrate you or how they show up for you when you're down. I think that's, you know, it's just a very easy way, in my opinion, to see who's down with you, on a very real level.
That's such a good point. I just immediately went to an instant recently, like you literally just triggered this for me. Where I was like, wait a minute. That's a yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good tell. It's like it's
Yeah.
almost like the actions and the words don't mix. It's like an influx of what it should be. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. What a yucky feeling. I'm sorry.
Super yucky
That's-
feeling.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I
That was
immediately start laughing. I'm like, yeah, it sucks. And she happened to birth me. So,
it's we're all a little funny. We all giggle a little inappropriately. It's the trauma. It's fine.
Oh, Brittany, what came to mind for you when you were thinking about
Yeah.
this question?
This was so hard for me because we touched on this a little bit on the last pod, Lindsay, and I always like just say like it's the vibe, it's the vibe. Like you said, it's just you follow your intuition. Like sometimes you get a good feeling, sometimes you get an icky feeling, sometimes you get a good feeling like on the surface you feel like you should like this person because other people like this person, but there's something like inauthentic or like, it's like okay, Lindsay, do you remember when I told you on the last podcast about the situation with the Kuros statue? And there was one of the archaeologists who like looked at it and they just used the first word that comes to mind to judge something, and their word was fresh. Long story short, it was like an old statue that they were trying to determine whether it was, legitimate or not, whether it was a fake or whatever. And it was supposed to be like 2,000-year-old statue. And one of the people was like, it looks fresh. So the first word that comes to mind when I meet someone is also like a big indicator for me. And I don't always get a word. Sometimes I just get like a nice warm feeling or like whatever. And then sometimes you meet someone and then I have like a word that's like slimy or squirrely or like whatever, and I'm just like, okay, noted. It's just like something to keep in mind. So
Oh,
that's
so a word, when you're feeling this vibe, a word literally just comes to you.
sometimes, yeah.
Do you hear it or see it?
Both sometimes. Sometimes
Cool.
sometimes one or the other, sometimes both.
I
And
feel
then
like that's like a super accelerated form of pattern recognition nearly.
oh, I don't know. I
It
like
is.
I hear very clear like words and phrases all the time. Sometimes it's like my voice, sometimes it's my dad's. A lot of times it's my dad's voice that I like. And it's like not in a situation where I'm thinking about my dad. Like I'll be doing something completely different and then I'll just hear like okay, perfect example. This actually just happened earlier in the week. I was working on something and I've been doing a lot of new things, taking on like new roles in like trying to grow our business and stuff. And a lot of it's like technology and like working with ChatGPT and like trying to get like digital marketing and like all the stuff that like I am not good at. And in my dad, something that he always used to say to me when I was a kid, which I actually forgot for a while. And I wrote it on a post-it note. I'll say it in his voice, but Britt, don't ever say you can't do something. You can do anything. And like, I hadn't thought about that in a really long time, but when I was a kid, I would get really frustrated. And also, it was like a very high level of expectation of like excellence, So it was like, not only did I just personally not like doing things if I wasn't good at them, I knew there would be like some cost or some reprimand or like some criticism or whatever. And it ultimately started taking the fun out of things, which is why I quit so many things when I was a kid. But he would always like say that to me. And then I just like literally 25 some odd years later, I just like remembered that this was like Monday or Tuesday. I was like working on something and I just like heard that. But that happens to me a lot where I just hear like a very clear word of guidance or phrase or like some like adjective that describes the person or the situation, and then I just get stuck on that word, and then yeah. So that's kind of a big one for me. I had one more that I just wanted to mention also is a lot of times like what's really important to me when I'm identifying my tribe is I really value introspective people who, as a general rule for how they live their lives, are oriented towards personal development.
Mm.
And so I was trying to figure out like what was a very easy way to phrase that. And so I like people that are ascent oriented, not acquisition oriented.
I love that.
So that is
What does ascent mean?
like progression. Like
Okay.
they're
Oh, like
like
ascending.
yeah,
Okay.
journey over completion. You know what I mean? Like the giving versus the getting. Like
Cool.
the
Yeah.
process versus the outcome, because that I feel like that's been one of the key things that I've had to learn is like people get so focused on outcomes and what they want and the goal and and it's great to have goals, you need them. Otherwise, you don't know what you're aiming at. You're going to hit whatever, but like, what is your process? Are you stoked about the process? Are you stoked about the opportunity to like grow in a skill set or like in your relationship with someone or like, whatever? Like, that's what I really value in people. That's one of my favorite traits. And that's how I know I'm like your tribe.
Yeah. And I think too, like, even if even if people aren't focused on anything at all, like, I definitely have some people in my life who just do the salary job that they don't like, and just look forward to the weekend and things like that. And I accept that that's how they want to do that, but I'm not looking at those people to give me advice or
Yeah.
to push me in my career or things like that.
Yeah.
It's a more surface level friendship,
Yeah. For
those type of
sure.
people.
But
So
but that's the thing is like everyone has their place. You know,
yeah,
like you're not going to like build businesses with everyone. You're not going to like, have intellectual conversations with everyone. You're not going to enjoy like really stupid, horrible, raunchy comedy with everyone. It's just like, it's like certain people you go to certain restaurants and certain people don't like that food or whatever. It's just like you have, different subcategories of people, but when you're identifying like, is this someone that I want to share my energy with? There's
yeah.
like certain core traits where it's like find people whose spirit is congruent with your values.
Oh,
Right. Right person in the right position applies to all areas of life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, I like that. I'm gonna write that down.
well, what did you say? Find people. What did you say, Britt?
Find people whose spirit is congruent with your values.
Love it.
Mhm.
I like what you said, Lyndsay. Cool.
Right.
Speaking of Lyndsay and things I like that she
Yes.
says, Linz,
Yeah.
is it just me, or do you also have a super specific way of organizing your thoughts, your space, your ideas? Would you like to show us any piles?
It's gonna get embarrassing real quick. Okay. Just just this morning.
Okay, you want to know the difference between me and you? All those post-it notes are the same color.
Same color. I knew you were gonna say that.
That was one train of thought.
Yeah, I was gonna
Oh,
say.
Hold please, because it doesn't stop there. And there's many types of shapes and and see-through ones and stuff for the glass ones. Oh, actually,
This is like the bag from Halloween Town, the grandma.
It's like, why do you keep buying that? Lyndsay, I'm putting a stop to this. You have enough post-it notes.
so I like post-it notes, if you
I
couldn't
love
tell.
post-it notes. Oh, I'm with you. I don't have that many. Damn.
And glass boards, actually. So this is a chalkboard. and that's a glass board, but the motherboard has lived and kept multiple businesses running for like 4 years now. So those two things, those are my little organism. We're not going to talk about my shoe collection or my closet or
That's
So
not
with
my
organizational tool.
catalog.
Those are other tools.
Yes.
So with your post-it notes, are these each color has like a different thought or a different category in your mental house that you use? Like how do you use them?
Okay. Um, I'm curious if this is actually just a me thing. So anybody out there that watches this, comment if you've ever followed this thought process. But what I will do is I will sit down and I will think on one subject and all the things that I need to. I can't actually share what this one is, but it's a stream of content for a client. And what I will actually do is I will start my thought process, and as I move like from one piece of information to the next, like as I build the next piece of how this piece of content is going to develop and then how it's going to be distributed. I Each time I switch piece of thought, and then I will go back and remove the post-its where I'm like, nope, that's not going to work. Nope, that's not going to work. And then I will piece together what this is what the actual piece of content's going to be right here.
So you like
I
the
will-
ability to physically piece it together.
I need that with as much storytelling as I do in my professional life.
I like that. I actually
Yeah.
really like that as like an idea for how I'm gonna be doing some of my content stuff. I'm gonna
Yeah.
write that
Yeah.
down.
Post it. I should unstock at this point. I don't know.
That's true.
Hey, post it. Let's get a sponsorship.
So with you have 4 children,
Mhm.
you own several businesses, you're
Cool.
doing several podcasts. How do you
Cool.
keep all of those?
She
How are,
gardens.
how are you keeping all of those things? How do you know when to be where and what time to be there and who's doing what, and like how do you do that?
Hmm. So you see how there's a motherboard right here?
Mm-hmm.
This does hold actually a good chunk of it professionally, but there's one in here. There's a motherboard in my house in my head that
Mm.
we talked. So anybody that didn't see that episode, I have a house constructed psychologically in here that I move room to room.
90s
But
kids
there's a
will
motherboard
understand
in it.
this. Lyndsay's house is actually smart house.
Oh, fire. I wanted to live there
Here.
so bad. So you keep
Well,
it, you do it in your head. See, this is like a autism,
oh no, there's a
ADHD.
full
Okay.
calendar here. No,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
still yes. And I have at least a
To look
30-minute
for.
heads
Oh
up
no.
on everything because I will like I literally was running out of the house yesterday to go run an errand. I had to go ship some stuff at the UPS store, and I am heading out of the neighborhood as I get you've got a meeting in 30 minutes and what because I'm not going to make it back in 30 minutes. So it's still there is still a palpable amount of chaos. For sure. It's not perfect system. Mm, no. And mom sometimes is late to stuff, and sometimes I double book myself, and there's no perfect system for the amount that I carry. I'm just gonna be fully transparent. There is not. But I think I've developed some infrastructures now that I manage it better than I think most could. I actually, and this is not an egotistical thing at all, because I wish it wasn't like this, but I don't think most people could survive a day in my life
Hey,
and want to do another one.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm good
Rather.
100% on that.
With absolute love and respect, I agree.
Love you to death.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And like
It's a
being
lot.
late, forgetting things, whatever. Imagine how much worse it would be if you didn't keep going to finally get to a place of your diagnosis and then learning about it and then learning how to live with it. Like imagine how much it would be very chaotic if you hadn't figured this out and worked on how to keep your life organized with the brain that you have, you know? So everybody's late sometimes. Who cares? The fact that
Were
you
you
have figured
always
this out is amazing.
sorry, Chey. I just want to know, were you always like super organized and on time? Like, are you like that as a person?
Well, okay. So that is a mixed bag. Um, I when it's things that I want to do,
Mm.
I'm not going to be late. When it's things where I feel like I have a sense of social responsibility, I'm not going to be late. Um, it's an interesting like I'm late for like doctor's appointments, or I'm late for like 10 minutes late getting them to the school dance, or you know what I mean? William is like running out the car to get onto the field on practice on team because I'm literally like 2 minutes shy of when he's supposed to be there. Like it's that kind of stuff that I'm like constantly running behind the stress 8 ball for. Um, but no, I actually door to door is what actually started me getting these systems in place, because my previous profession, working in food and beverage and in and out of hot kitchens and running floors and stuff, like it is so down to the minute and instantaneous that you don't have to map out long-term projections, and you don't really
Mhm.
have to be super organized. You have to be able to thrive in the chaos. It was getting into door to door that I had to figure out a way to not be so chaotic, because you have to keep a pretty tight schedule. Like, I mean, you know what my knocking schedule was. It was 100 doors a day minimally, and pulling farmers markets. And I mean, I started at 9 a.m. and I did not get home till 9 p.m. for 6 days a week for 2.5 years, like
We have the
nonstop.
same experience with that because I
Me
mean,
too.
especially when I started managing 60 other people, I was like, hey, you can't be like this. You have got to get organized. Leading teams and door to door is literally, I, I've never been more organized in my life. And it taught me so much.
Hmm. I wasn't organized until door to door either. I was chronically late to everything my entire life, always. Looking back, I am my father's daughter, 100%, and that man absolutely had ADHD. Absolutely. Like, dude, it was a fight and a scream and crying, getting anywhere, me as a kid. School, I was late. My elementary school was in my backyard, and it was my third grade classroom. It was like a one level school, and it was like kind of like the floor was like under the ground. So like the window would be like up here, and the window was facing the like grass yard or whatever that I would run through to like get to the other side because they locked the other doors. And it was just like fat little third grade Biddy, just meh, and like all my classmates and my teacher would just be like, yeah, we saw you like running across the field. We knew you'd be late. It's like every morning. My house was behind like literally here's the school, here's the field, here's my house, here's like the path to the playground. And my house is on the path to the playground. Like I was like 100 feet from the school. I was late every day
That is
until
hilarious.
door to door. And now I'm like, I'm not the most on time early person, but I'm like on time most of the time, if not a little early now.
Yeah, same. And it made me a much more professional person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it taught me like, when is it time to be serious? When is it? But I was like, you're in charge of a big organization. Like, you have to have, and then, then you're around people who are worth a lot of money. And, you start to be in the same room, and you need to be like organized and have your shit together. And I
Yeah.
just, door to door really, really taught me that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it
Absolutely.
comes down to, I think, like respecting your time and the time of others.
Yeah,
Because I feel like
absolutely.
the thing that came with door to door was also a lot of personal development that allowed us to change our opinion and what the value of time really is, especially when it comes to like time for money type deal. So, you start valuing yourself and you start valuing your time, and obviously you start valuing like and respecting others' time with that too. But um
Yeah. I didn't realize that too until I was a little further in my career. And I felt like people were like, wasting my time sometimes.
yeah.
Nope. 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 I have things to do, you know, so I'll show you my color coordinated calendar.
Is it color coordinated, Chey?
Absolutely. I'll get into it here in just a second, but
Please
I
get
was
into
gonna
it.
say, yeah, let's hear it. What is
go for it.
your
Okay.
series?
Yeah. So is it just me, or do we have some wonky organization tools? For me, I have a color coordinated calendar. I do not know how I functioned in life without this calendar. If it is not on my calendar, I will not be showing up. It does not exist in real life if it is not on the Google Calendar. And so if it's pink, it is something fun, like dinner with the girls, a hair appointment, gotta go get my nails done. It's a baby shower, whatever. If it's blue, it's work, like a work call. So I sell insurance, blah, blah, blah. We don't need to get into all that. But if it's a call with a client, it's blue. If it's yellow, it's a morning meeting. If it's purple, it's a recruiting call. So yeah, like every single thing has a color. And then I have my settings set to where it reminds me 30 minutes prior. So it's like, hey, you have this thing coming, because there's a setting on there that'll let you do it like 10 minutes or 5 minutes. I'm like, I could be down the road and being
I
like,
could be anywhere.
I could be anywhere. Exactly. And I'm like, oh, no, I forgot, But every morning I get up, I look at my calendar and I see what I have to do for that day. And I used to use alarms on my phone to tell me, like, remind me to do things. But what I noticed is I would turn them off, never to be seen again. It's like, stop. And then I forget all about it. So what I've started doing is reminders. So I just, hey, I don't want it to turn on. And I'm like, remind me on this day at this time that I need to do XYZ. And the reminder stays on your front screen all day until you press that you completed the task. But what I also like too is, like, I'll have good ideas or something that I don't need to remember for months. So this is kind of a silly example, but last summer I had an idea of what I wanted to be for Halloween. And so I put a reminder on my phone for October several months later, and then it popped up and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot all about that. And so I use the reminders a lot.
I love that. I've never thought about doing like a long-term reminder for things like that. I'm gonna use
Yep.
that.
Yeah. So even like I knew I started planning my sister's baby shower like 3 months in advance. And I knew that I would need to order food by a certain day. So even though it was several months in advance, when I was thinking about the party, I was like, hey, remind me on March 7th at noon that I need to order catering for Cammie's baby shower. And
What
then
do
it
you
popped up.
do? Sorry, I have a question about that, because
Yeah.
this is something that I'm gonna implement because I really like the idea. But what do you do? Like, okay, let's say like March 7th, you're like in the middle of a bunch of meetings, you get a bunch of client calls, you like snooze or whatever the reminder, and you're like, oh yeah, I gotta do that. And then it just like your day consumes you. Like, do you set multiple reminders?
No.
Or
So
what do you
that
do in that
reminder,
situation?
it literally stays on your home screen until you click it that it is completed. So it doesn't go away. So even if you need to do it the next day, that reminder is still going to be there.
Hmm.
So until you click that you did it. So just don't get in the habit of clicking complete when you haven't completed the thing yet.
Also, note to self, I should probably stop bulk clearing everything on my home screen just because I can't stand looking at the notification.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That might help.
Putter.
Meh.
So
I like
another
that though.
thing,
I think I'm gonna start color coding some of my stuff just so I have a little bit
Yeah.
more joy in the dauntingness of my calendar.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Kaleidoscope
actually a really good
man.
idea. I'm gonna start color coordinating in
I
my
like that.
Google as well.
Everything for me is color coordinated because it creates like I associate the color with that thing. So like for instance, and I have a couple other colors too. I do the notebook. So yellow is anything for success on the spectrum. This is for client info. My blue one over there is anytime I'm studying insurance or anything with my career, I do notes over there. If I had everything in one notebook and I'm literally like flipping, trying to find it, I can't do that. So,
Yeah.
and I'm just like a note taker. I like to write things on pen and paper. And so when I see my yellow notebook, I know what that is, what category that is for, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And then the last thing is, I put things in a designated spot in my home so I don't lose it. When I was young, my God, looking for my car keys was an every day, through the laundry basket, looking in the fridge, crawling under the couch. It was so annoying. I lost my car keys every single day. And then I'd be in a hurry. I can't find my damn keys. So my dad was like, hey, if you put it in the same spot every single day, you will know exactly where it is. So now I have like a bowl in the front of my house or my apartment. I have my keys go there, my wallet goes there, John's wallet goes there. Everything that we need to leave the house stays in that bowl. You know, we have designated spots where things go. And I think that really helps me stay organized. I always know where my stuff is. So,
Yeah. That
My
is
house is pretty
so
organized.
important. I do the same thing with color coordinating, like the folders and things like that. Do you have like, do you just decide then and there that like, okay, I have an empty folder, here's like the thing, here's the color, or do you have like a standing, rolling kind of preset set of colors that you're like, okay, business is always this color, this is always this color, this is always that color?
so when I first ordered this big stack of colorful notebooks, I just picked one. But from now on, that will be what it is. Because if I switch it up, there's no consistency, so it won't be ingrained. So now, like this one's almost full. I've only got a couple pages left, so I
But
need to
you'll
go
just get
get.
another yellow one.
I need to go get another yellow notebook.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very similar in that way too, because it's like, it doesn't matter what it is to start with, but then once it's that color, I'll know, oh, okay, if I'm looking for like some nugget that I wrote down in a notebook, I know it's going to be in like this kind of notebook.
Yeah. Yep. And I always do a header as well. So like this says SOS notes and then today's date. So that way when I'm looking for something, like I can look at the header and know what the topic of this page's notes are. And I think in my ADHD journey, I always was very frustrated with myself. Why am I always late? Why can't I ever remember anything? Why am I always losing my keys? Like I'm never going to make it in life. And then when I figured out how my brain worked and what was going to help keep me organized, it was so helpful. So if you're listening and you felt that like wanting to shake your own shoulders, frustrating feeling where you're just like, I can't get my life together, you know, kind of start trying things and try them for a while. See if they figure out what works for you and what doesn't. But we can't stay organized if all we're using is inside of our mind. There's too much going on in there. And so if you're trying to, you know, go through your neurodivergent life and just like memorize stuff in your head, it's probably not going to work. So like, you know, remember that there are tools and resources out there to help you stay organized and live like a more functional life, because we may have different ways of looking at things or thinking about things, but it's 2025. There are tools out there to help us live a more cohesive life. You know, there are ways to help us with that.
I've never met a successful person that did not have a stack of tools, neurodivergent or not.
Yeah. That's so true, man.
Yeah.
You need systems.
Yep.
Yes.
Systems that help
SOPs,
keep
baby.
you. Yeah. Yeah.